And it's interesting you say that because in my experience, you have like the Hebrew Israelites, which I think is some good people over there that are searching. So I'm not trying to demonize an entire group of people, but my point is, so in that space, you have this emphasis of the law for the sake of salvation. So they kind of whip you back into that mentality where you need to try to live the law to please Yahweh. And then on the other extreme, and I guess in just many forms of evangelicalism in its kind of American use of the word, or generic American Christianity, you have this understanding of the law that feels a bit to be a hindrance. So you get these other phrases like gospel imperatives or living out the gospel, right? These are other ways of getting at, well, what do we do with our minutes and hours and days here on earth before Jesus returns or we part? Then they'll say, you do the gospel imperatives or you live out the gospel. And that's, to me, the other extreme of having a wrong relationship with the law or having the law out of position. And that's what I love about the Small Catechism is it introduces the law in its truest form, which is God's good desire for his children.
Yeah.
That's really all it is. It's how God has communicated to us to live our lives. And we know as Christians, that's not to gain his approval, or it's not like every time we do these acts of kindness or goodness or service, that it's a check mark in a box for our righteousness that he says, I'm impressed by that. I'll give you credit for that may earn you salvation. That's not what's going on. So I love the simplicity of what you find in the Small Catechism. It's helping all those who are seeking to honor Christ find the pleasant and good use of the law, and to not see it as either a way to please him and earn salvation or something to fear.
Right.
You know what I mean? You get those two extremes. Yeah.
You know, I said something a moment ago about the commandment is holy. And that's an echo of what Paul says in Romans chapter 7, where he addresses the whole issue of the struggle with sin. And people have argued as to whether Romans 7 is talking about whether Paul was writing this from the standpoint of before he was a Christian, or when he was, in Judaism, as a Pharisee, who was he referring to? And when I was, coming up in the church world, I was always taught Romans 7 is about your life before you became saved. Because, you're not, you find another law at work in your members. But when you're saved, when you're fully saved, you don't have that anymore. You're fully committed, and your goal is sinless perfection. And I remember one of the formulas they used to say, you can live holy for 1 second, you can live holy for 1 minute. If you can live holy for 1 minute, you can live holy for 1 hour. If you can live holy for 1 hour, you can live holy for a portion of a day. And they would just extrapolate and extrapolate and extrapolate on. So in essence, you could be sinlessly perfect if you just took that second of obedience and just carried it over to the next second and kept carrying it over. And then, but one day I remember saying in a class where this came up, and I said, well, the only way truly that you can do that is stay asleep. Because the only time that I know absolutely, positively, without a shadow of a doubt, that I'm not doing something sinful is when I'm asleep.
Maybe.
Maybe. You might have a crazy dream. You know what I'm saying?
But see, that's not me. That's the dream is doing that. I don't have no control over the dream.
Touche. Yeah.
Right.
But even that failed to understand the gravity of our situation.
Yeah.
Because it was acting as if I'm a sinner because I sin.
Yeah, give it to him.
Good.
And so therefore, as long as I avoid sinning, then I'm not a sinner anymore.
Yeah.
And in the Pentecostal holiness world, that was the perspective. because that's the only way you can go around telling people they can live holy.
Right. That goes back to this quote that I love, where the quote is, I think I said it before, where I'm not a sinner because I sin because I'm a sinner.